Welcome back to another episode of The Canon, where I bring you the latest in comic book and superhero movie news. I'm your host, Terry, and I'm ready to bring you stuff that matters. Just to remind you, go to the description, to go to the time codes to jump around to different topics. Alright, we got a couple big news items today. First, we're going over to Sony/Marvel, where Amy Pascal, former president of Sony, now one of the top producers, came out and said that the Spider-Man universe is going to be connected to the MCU, potentially. So, I am going to sweep this. So, this is getting out of hand now, because just like, technically still this week, earlier in this week, we had Kevin Feige, head of Marvel Studios, Lord and Savior. He came out and said there's no plans for Venom or any of that in the MCU right now. Now, on Sunday, we have Amy Pascal. She's coming out and saying that the movies Venom, Black Cat, and Silver Sable, all that, are going to take place in the same universe that they're building for Peter Parker. That was pretty much her quote. So people, understand, there's a few layers to this. Number one, Amy Pascal is kind of been known to shoot off at the mouth. She's the one that kind of started that whole deal with Sony's contract with Marvel ending after Homecoming 2. And then, of course, Kevin Feige had to follow up and confirm it. But that's not something that they wanted to get out there. They didn't want people to know the contract length. But she kind of shoot that out the mouth. Now she's shooting this out. But at the same time, she's been known to say things that don't really come to fruition. Or, she's kind of just talking. So I'm not saying she's not knowledgeable, but there's a reason she's not the president anymore. She got demoted once the Sony hack happened, which is not her fault, but she got demoted for reasons. She's still a producer, she still works, but you can't take everything she says literally. Number two, if there was a chance that there was going to be a merger between Sony and Marvel's MCU with Venom and everything, Kevin Feige would not have denied it. He would have said something like, we'll have to see, or maybe we'll see in the future. You never can say never. Stuff like that that's vague. He wouldn't come out and flat deny, like, no, Venom's not in the MCU right now. He does say right now, but you telling me in less than a week that just changed? I don't think so. Kevin Feige's smarter. He's much bigger picture than that. If he knew they were that close to making that a deal, he would not have came out and denied it. Now, number three, and the biggest reason. People look at what she's saying. I think this is a misquote here. Now, it's easy to take what she said to the MCU, but I think you gotta really look at it. The quote says, these movies take place in the universe we're building for Peter Parker. MCU is already built. Sony's not building the MCU. So, when she said they're building the universe, they're building a section that's just Spider-Man. That is very evident in the movie. I haven't seen the movie, of course, but the trailer paints a very vivid picture of, look, Spider-Man, you stay here. Let Avengers do this, you stay here. You stay in this pocket of New York. You do this level of crime. We'll take care of the big things. And I think this whole setup is Spider-Man growing into his own hero, showing that he can be a hero, to eventually branch off. Now, the whole time this has been going on, I've always said that Sony owns Spider-Man. So the idea that he would not be in Venom and whatever is crazy. They asked Amy Pascal about that, and she said there's always a chance, and then she kind of quoted how Marvel uses their people in different movies. So I've always said that these movies were going to be a spin-off from the Peter Parkers, all based around Peter Parker, Spider-Man, but they're building up the world, and I've always said maybe cameo Spider-Man in there with a picture of Tom Holland, or a few, cameos, whatever you do to slightly show him, but build the world around it. It's almost like the Netflix universe, where it's around the MCU. It's not part of the MCU, but, things happen because of the New York incident. Things happen because of the Avengers, but they're not directly there. They're kind of just in the background. So I've always said that Sony isn't going to just make a Venom with no Spider-Man, a Black Cat with no Spider-Man. None of that would make sense. It's more of, it's kind of like a third level where it's like MCU, Spider-Man's doing his little thing, Tony comes in, whatnot. And then there's a third level where it's like, okay, this is where the Spider-Man world is, and Spider-Man will sometimes come in. And eventually, when the contract ends, probably be a full-time in the Spider-Man universe. Because I think Sony is setting up the world for when they're done with Marvel. And a lot of people are like, why would they ever do that? Blah, blah, blah. Why would they not sign the contract to stay with Marvel? And again, they want their own money. They're two different companies. They don't ride on someone's coattails to get your game up is one thing, but they don't want to ride on those coattails forever. It's not the NBA. So they want to do their own thing. And so they're using the popularity to set up their own world. And then once the contract is done, Infinity War, all that, Spider-Man slides back to full-time Sony. That's my thought, and her comments seem to say that. I don't think she's saying the movies are part of the MCU. She's saying the movies are part of the Spider-Man universe with Tom Holland that they're creating. Tom Holland has 6 movies and 3 appearances, 3 solo movies. And one of those solo movies, the third one, is not in the Marvel contract. So I don't know if they renew. Once we hear that, that might change things. But for now, it looks like Sony is setting up their own thing. And so I don't think Venom and all this is part of the MCU proper. Just like the Netflix, Daredevil, Luke Cage, they're not part of the MCU proper. So I don't think that's what she was saying. I think it's clickbait and people running with it, when I really believe the actuality of it is that these movies, Venom, Black Cat, Sable, Silver Sable, whatever, are going to be part of Tom Holland's Spider-Man universe for Sony that's being kick-started through the MCU, but they won't interconnect, if that makes sense. But kind of along the lines of what I've been saying this whole time. Alright, so other piece of news that was pretty big, actually. Junkie XL, who does or did the music for BVS, one of the composers, and Man of Steel and stuff like that, has been replaced by Danny Elfman for the Justice League project as the composer. And so now Danny Elfman, who's worked on Avengers with Joss Whedon and everything, comes in and takes over the Justice League composing. So I'm going to sweep this for a number of reasons. First off, I love Junkie XL and I love Hans Zimmer. The scores they did with Wonder Woman, Man of Steel, it's just ridiculous. Stop it. Even that Lex Luthor one. I know some people don't like the Jesse Eisenberg, or a lot of people don't like Eisenberg. I like him personally. But his Lex Luthor score, you can't argue that. You can't. And so, while it's not really about the music, because I do think that no matter what fans say about DCU, they really appreciate the music and the composing. That's better than Marvel and Sony and anybody else. But that's not even the case. This speaks to a bigger picture, because Junkie XL, tweeted out or whatever, or at least a statement, basically saying, I forgot who it was, but he said, my mentor told me you're not a real composer in this business until you get replaced on a movie project. And he was like, well, I guess I'm now a real composer, or someone like that. So when I first heard it, I thought, man, Junkie XL walked away because maybe Zack Snyder walked away and he didn't want to deal with Joss Whedon, or, something like that. But to have him say, I've been replaced, not I'm leaving because I'm busy, not I'm leaving because, I wanted to work with only Snyder, not I'm walking away for personal reasons. I got replaced. They said, you got to go with putting somebody else in. And that's already shocking enough. But to have it be Danny Elfman, who we know, not notorious, but we know him for working with Joss Whedon in the past. And of course, he did the Batman animated series theme song and other big theme songs. So, not saying that's the only thing he's known for, but we know he's worked with Joss Whedon. That's one of his boys. So it's not a coincidence that Joss Whedon took over Justice League and now you got Danny Elfman. So it's just hard, man. It's hard because I already did the news about Jeff Johns saying how optimistic and fun the DCU is going to be now. And it's like, okay, there's not much debate there. They're changing things. But now you see something like this right after that, where it's like, okay, no, they're really changing things. And they sit there all the day, all they want, talking, this is still Zack Snyder's movie, respecting Zack Snyder's vision, blah, blah, blah. But you took away his composer. There's nothing in my mind that says if Zack Snyder was still on the project, he would have took away Junkie XL for Danny Elfman. So you're telling me this is still a Zack Snyder vision. I don't believe that. I think they're... As hard as it was when Zack stepped down because of personal tragedy, people really started not attacking, but maybe this is more than that. Maybe this is just an excuse to get Joss Whedon and, some stuff that I felt was real disrespectful, real hot take. And, some people didn't feel that they were doing that, but I feel like it was disrespectful. But it's hard to ignore now that you see stuff like this to think, wait a minute, is there some truth to that? Is there some truth behind, maybe they're like, sad for the loss, let them, take off. Maybe now people are thinking, wait, are they behind the scenes trying to push Zack Snyder out? And that sucks, man. A coup sucks. It sucks. So, I don't know. There's a lot of feelings on that. I think I expressed most how I feel about the DCU trying to change the tone and trying to copy Marvel rather than sticking to what they do. And it's not like I'm saying don't be optimistic. It's Zack Snyder started from one level with Christopher Nolan and they were building to something. And I think to just fast track it or just jump to a whole different tone would be a complete waste and a complete depth of creativity and just pursuit of a money-making machine that Marvel has. I mean, Marvel does good stuff. I say it. I love Marvel, but they're not as deep. They don't feel as artistic to me as DC has been. And so I think you're sacrificing that. And while I think the scores are amazing, Wonder Woman's theme is going to stay. Superman's theme is going to stay. All that. Justice League's new theme, I don't really care because I just don't. Because their individual scores are good enough. But it speaks to a bigger picture seeing Junkie XL get replaced. And that's why I'm upset about it. So, yeah, I can talk about that for hours. But anyway, so that's it for the news. Go to the comment section. Let me know what you thought. What you think about this. Do you think that Amy Pascal is saying Spider-Man universe is part of MCU? What do you think about Junkie XL being replaced? Like, comment, subscribe, thumbs up, all that stuff. My mind is jumbled right now. But thank you for listening. Remember, if you heard it, it's official canon.